What's good, family? What's good? It's your boy, Urban Sports Guru. I'm going to come here with some NBA talk here about this first round of the playoffs. We're going to start in the Eastern Conference. Well, Washington's about to be closed the fuck out, as expected. Philly's looking very, very formidable, and Philly's looking like something that's a challenge for anybody. My only concern about Philly is health. Can they stay healthy? Joel Embiid has been hurt before in the playoffs. He's having an MVP season, in my opinion, and his health is a big factor as to whether if they're going to be competing for a championship. Him playing the way he is and everyone else playing off him, they have enough outside shooting this year. They can compete with anybody. They can compete with anybody for a championship this year. Anybody. Even the Nets. Even the healthy Lakers. Even the healthy Lakers, because they're the one team that has a big that the Lakers can't even guard. Think about that. Lakers can't do nothing for them with all their bigs and a healthy Anthony Davis. So that's that series. Atlanta, New York. Atlanta's just far more talented. Props to my Knicks. End of the day, they're doing something that was not expected of them. So they're exceeding expectations even being there. Having home court advantage. They've so far exceeded expectations. I hope this put in perspective exactly who Julius Randle really is. He's not a max player, and paying him max money would be a mistake. I think some kind of middle ground has to be had. I think Julius Randle, if he's the third best guy, he could be the number 3 in a big 3 to win a championship. But he can't be the number 1 and he can't be the number 2. Just my opinion. But furthermore, the other Eastern Conference series, I'm surprised the Nets lost the game. But as I expected, the Nets are figuring this out. These guys have only played like 12 games together. The Nets are still figuring this shit out, playing together and dealing with things that they haven't dealt with each other with because they haven't had a lot of regular season games played. So they're figuring this out on the fly. They finally made some adjustments because Tatum was killing them in Game 4. And it's like, okay, just double him. Just double him. Like, why are you risking Kevin Durant wasting his energy? No, double him. I understand you're not having Jeff Green, so then Kevin Durant has to do more defending, which he's more than willing to do and is a damn good defender. I'm like, nah, just double him. Who else is going to score? Second they did that, the game got out of control because you can't guard them. And when I watch the Nets, when they're sharing the ball, not going ISO, but when they're sharing the ball, is reminiscent to me of KD's Warriors in a sense, because like KD's Warriors, they play up and down. KD's Warriors play more defense, but they play an up and down style, and because of that, teams will get intoxicated into that thinking they can continue to play that way. And over the course of 4 quarters, you can't keep shooting the way they're shooting. You can't keep scoring the way they're scoring because they had the best shooters in the world. I mean, think about it. KD was the 3rd best shooter on that team. I'm going to say this again for a fact. KD was the 3rd best shooter on that team. So you couldn't continue to keep shooting with them. You just couldn't. And he's probably the 2nd best shooter on this team. Maybe between him and Kyrie, battling for 2nd. But they have so much scoring. Like, can you really keep up with them? I think the goal for other teams in Milwaukee, who looks focused, I'll get to that in a second, you have to just get enough stops. Because what the Nets are trying to do is just get enough stops. Just make enough defensive plays and we could just outscore you. I think of a team who can score, like Philly can score, like Milwaukee can score, those other teams that can score but also defend, I think their goal has to be just get enough stops. If we could just get enough stops, especially since we have ways of scoring on the interior that you don't. We can score with Brook Lopez on the inside. You can. We can score with Joel Embiid on the inside. You can. So we have easier ways to score. You're scoring. End of the day, A layup is easier to layups and dunks are easier to make than jump shots. So that's what I foresee, and seeing that clash, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see that, because this is going to be a real challenge. It is very real because Milwaukee is ready. What I seen out of Milwaukee, and I spoke to this with y'all before. First and foremost, let me just talk about Miami. What I seen out of Miami is Miami was exposed. Miami was exposed as last year overachieving. I thought that last year. I thought they overachieved. Maybe they felt. You see the call outs about Tyler Hero and how he was a product of the bubble. I won't go that far, but they overachieved. And I say overachieved because they don't have a superstar. And they're a team that goes about it on guile, grit, and a lot of great outside shooting. They don't have one dynamite scorer. Jimmy Butler is a damn good player, but he's not a dynamite scorer. He's not someone that's going to average 25. He can get you 30 on a given night, and he's clutch. But he's not that kind of dynamite scorer because he's not that great a shooter. He's an average shooter. And because they don't have that, they get about on guile and grit. And that's saying something for today's NBA. That is Pat Riley's DNA all on that team. But they were exposed when I looked at Game 3 and Game 4. Like, they had a hard time scoring the basketball. Just scoring. They have a real hard time scoring the basketball in these kind of settings. So they're going to have some real decisions to make. They're going to have to find a way to get some scoring in there. Some real tangible scoring. Now, I think if they're able to get the right star there, they're one star away from competing against anybody. But let's see what happens. Now, the fact that they went against a Milwaukee team this year that had guys who are willing to fight. And like I said to y'all before, willing to fight, I mean willing to respond. With PJ Tucker and numerous guys that they got there from this year. I'm getting names, the point guard. I'm forgetting. God, I hate having a brain fart with names. I'm terrible with names. But they have a bunch of guys this year who are willing to fight you. And it showed. It really showed. Because Giannis balled out. And you've seen an aggressiveness out of Giannis this year because he was getting out on the perimeter and defending. Not just defending Jimmy Butler, defending those perimeter guys, fighting over screens. You know what I'm saying? Actually being the defensive player of the year. Why? I think a lot of that is predicated on the fact that he knew he had other guys there who were willing to fight with him. He's not going to throw his teammates under a bus from last couple of years, but I think what they ran into the last couple of years is teams that are willing to fight. And when he had to go against teams that are willing to fight, and he's seen that he didn't have enough dogs that are willing to fight, I think that kind of discouraged him. And he put up a bunch of numbers, but they got smoked. This year, I think he has a confidence that he hasn't had before because he has guys who are willing to fight. So that's that series. That is the Eastern Conference. Now we talk the Western Conference. Western Conference, I think Portland and Denver, I think that's a 7-game series. I think it's a 7-game series. And I say it's a 7-game series solely because the Trailblazers don't play defense. And I think that Denver has more horses to play defense. It's just that they like playing that up and down style, so if it plays right into their hand as well. I'm giving Portland the edge because they have Dame. They have the best player on the court. They have Dame. I think there could be things done to neutralize Jokic, especially when Nurkic is playing good basketball. Michael Porter Jr., he's risen in some games, he's fallen in others. But I don't think he can go gun to gun with Dame Lillard. I don't think he can go gun to gun with Dame Lillard. I don't see it. But I see that as a 7-game series. 7-game series. Solely because Portland consistently does not play enough defense. They just don't. And they have enough guys, especially when money time. You got Lillard. CJ is going to be money. Melo is going to be money. I like Portland. Now, we have Utah and Memphis. Utah's looking more and more like how they looked in the regular season. Why you have you have Donovan Mitchell look back and he's looking like something. You have them playing the defense that you're accustomed to seeing them play. Ja Morant is going to be Ja Morant. Ja Morant is a phenomenal talent. He is amazing, and yes, that kid is a problem. He is a problem. He is a load to deal with, but I don't think he has the horses. They'll make it entertaining. They'll keep this entertaining, but I never thought they had a chance to win the series, even without Donovan Mitchell. Now, especially that you have Donovan Mitchell back, hell no. Memphis might not win another game. I like Utah. Now, as far as the Lakers got big fucking problems. Lakers got problems. Lakers got big fucking problems. They were in the driver's seat after Game 3, smoking Phoenix. Chris Paul was still hurt. Tried to gut it out. Wasn't playing really well. But the problem with the Lakers this year has been consistency. And the lack of consistency they had has been for two reasons. Number one has been injury. Number two, Lakers have a problem even when everyone's there when it comes to a lack of scoring. And that's crazy to think about it when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But there are times when you look at them, they have a hard time scoring the basketball. They do. So that's when everyone's healthy. And as I told y'all, I didn't think AD was going to be healthy for the playoffs, which is why Drummond was going to be that much more of a key factor. The Lakers won last year for a couple of reasons. And let me explain this to you. What's happening to the Lakers this year is what I expected to happen to them last year. What is that? Injuries being a damn big fucking problem. But guess what? Because of the pandemic, they had damn near, 70-something days off? Time to rest. You got an Asian superstar in LeBron James. Yes, he keeps his body in phenomenal shape, but he's now injury prone. Now he's had the whole season to play, and guess what? What does he have to deal with this year? Injuries. You had Anthony Davis, who throughout his career has been injury prone. Playing on both ends. Last year he didn't get hurt, but guess what? He had that whole time off. This year he's playing. What does he have to deal with? Injuries. So they're dealing with this year what me and many others expected them to deal with last year. That's one. Secondly, they're not in a bubble. They are not in a bubble. You're playing real road games now. You're playing some real road games. You're going in and you're not playing in front of cardboard anymore. You're playing real road games now. So and they said they just have a real hard time scoring. And it's crazy to think about. You have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, you have Dennis Schroeder. I don't understand why this team has such a hard time scoring the basketball. I don't. And they went and got Drummond to make up for losing JaVale McGee and Dwight. One of the reasons they won last year is because they literally dominated the painted area. You had AD, who's as great as he is on both ends. Then you had Dwight and JaVale. That two-headed monster, to go with an AD, they dominated the painted area, and they wasn't getting that same production with Marc Gasol and AD being hurt. So what they do, they go get Drummond. I told y'all Drummond's going to be very fucking important. He's going to be very fucking important because at the very least, they're going to need him to replace, rebounding-wise and defensively, what Dwight and JaVale McGee gave them last year, and to make up for what AD's not going to be able to give them because he's not going to be 100%. I told y'all this, and these are the things that are not happening. And they're not like they're a 2 seed playing against a shitty 7 seed. No. Phoenix is the 2 seed, and they're the 7 seed. And I don't think the Lakers, healthy, loses to Phoenix. But we seen in Game 4, Chris Paul seems to be back, somewhat healthy. You got to roll the dice on that because, knock on wood, because he's tender, he's injury prone. Who the hell knows how you're going to feel Game 5, Game 6, or Game 7? So, Lakers got real problems on their hand. I still felt like Lakers was going to win in 6. I don't know. I'm telling you right now, I don't know. I don't know. Because without a healthy AD, can they beat Phoenix? DeAndre Ayton is balling. Devin Booker, they got nothing for him. When Chris Paul is on the floor, they got nothing for D-Book. Because then D-Book can just go score. Go get it. They got nothing for him. Nothing. Absolutely nothing for him. So, can they beat them without AD? I honestly do not know. I honestly don't know. I want to believe that LeBron James is the best player in the series. And they can get enough outside shooting, and Drummond can play well enough that they can still beat Phoenix. But Phoenix was a number 2 seed for a reason. So I do not know. Last but not least, we got the Clippers, who tied up the series against the Mavericks. And Clippers, to me, are similar to the Milwaukee Bucks. Why? They're playing teams that they played last year in the first round. Clippers at least beat the Mavericks last year, but they're playing teams that they played in the first round. And the question with the Clippers was the same, in my opinion, as the question with Milwaukee. And that's fight. That's leadership and fight. They go and get a Rondo. I told y'all, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence the Clippers go on that run in Game 3 when Rondo was on the floor. And what you weren't seeing in Game 1 and Game 2, that you were seeing in Game 3 and Game 4, you were seeing fight. You want to see them fight back. Because Luka was still doing his thing in Game 3, but guess what? They fought back. They finally responded. And then what they seen when they respond is, you know what? We can handle these motherfuckers. We can handle them. Let's do what we're supposed to do. And you see that confidence grow even more in Game 4 because they finally locked up Luka. Also, I think they've also noticed once you get a little physical with Luka, he's a little tender, like last year. Tweaked his ankle a little bit more. This year, now it's a neck strain. He gets a little tender. He gets a little injured. He's not as productive. I'm just calling a spade. I'm not hating. But I think they noticed, like, they have to fight. The only time in these last 2 seasons that you see this kind of extra effort given by the Los Angeles Clippers is when they play in the Lakers. That's it. And what the Clippers have to realize is the West is loaded. There's not a guarantee you're going to play the Lakers. There's not. There's no guarantee you're going to play the Lakers. And I believe in the next round, they'll be playing Utah. That is no cakewalk for anybody. And I see how extreme size in the middle can really fuck them up on the inside. There's no better rim protector in the game than Rudy Gobert. So just think about that. The series with the Clippers is not over, but it's expected for them to win. Charles Barkley said he doesn't think Mavericks win another game. And you know what? I won't be surprised if that rings true. But the Clippers have to be consistent in putting out that effort. Consistent in putting out that fight. If they want to achieve the goals that they had from last year and, of course, again this year, you're going to have to put forth that effort. And it can't just be Kawhi leading the charge. He needs his dogs there with him. PG, these last 2 games, he's looked like playoff P. Playoff P need to stay there. Keep the same energy he's playing with right now. And the Clippers got a shot against anybody. That's my take. It's your boy, Urban Sports Guru. Oh, before I even go there. Last but not least, I want to talk to this shit about making New York look bad, trying to spit on Trae Young. There's some idiot throwing popcorn at Russell Westbrook. Then last night, some fucking jerk off throwing a bottle at Kyrie. This shit is getting out of hand. It's getting completely out of hand. I think all three of those situations, those fans should get their ass whooped. I think all three of those situations, those players should be allowed to have 5 minutes in the room with him. That's what I genuinely believe. I know this for a fact. For a fact. If Russell Westbrook would have got his hands on the motherfucker and threw popcorn on him, it would have been ugly. There's a lot you can say about Russ. Punk ain't one of them. That would have got ugly. The disrespect is getting crazy. Now, the NBA is the best live sport to watch because you're so close to the game. People, don't ruin that. Don't ruin that. Please don't ruin that being a jackass. Don't ruin that. And that's my take. This shit is getting out of hand. The disrespect is getting crazy. You want to heckle a motherfucker, but don't do that. That's my take. It's your boy, Urban Sports Guru. I'm out. Salute.